I'm Graham,
And I'm Corinne.
and we are
New
too talented.
talented.
All
Better.
right. I think we're getting better. Practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
Well, welcome everyone. We wanted to have an episode today. I read a headline like about a week ago and made me think that we should do a pod on this just because it's particularly pertinent at this moment. So, really, it starts kind of with this general premise. So, only 30% of new grads are working in fields related to their degree in 2025, down from 41% in 2024. The job market's very difficult, but it's not impossible. So that was a quote from Forbes magazine that was out about a week ago, really talking about how new grads are struggling finding new roles within the field that they study. So we thought it'd be a great idea to do a podcast focused around new grads and finding their first job out of school. So with that said, we'll talk a little bit about personal stuff. We just got back from a race in the desert. Corinne, how did you do in that 100K race that you just ran?
Yeah, we just got back from Javelina 100, as they call it, with a J, where they spell everything with J's. So it's not hot. It's not hot HOT. It's hot JOT, and everything is spelled with a J. It's one of the fun aspects of the race, or parts of the race, that they have a really cool brand around it. In general, it's a Halloween party. It's always around Halloween. Next year, it's actually on Halloween Day, which will be really cool. But yeah, I did the 100K race, which is the second time I've done that distance at Javelina. We did it together in 2020 during COVID. It was your first 100K.
Was, yep.
It was my second. I had done Black Canyon earlier that year. And we ended up finishing together. You were well ahead of me, but had an injury thing pop up, and we reconvened, I don't know, three quarters of the way through the race or so, and we're able to actually finish together, which was a really cool memory because there was no spectators. It was masks. It was a very different experience than what it is now. But then, yeah, so 5 years ago, so coming back 5 years later, in 2020, I ran 9 hours and 40 something minutes, I think. And I was really happy with that time at that, point in my running journey. That was a huge, huge result for me. I ran the 100 miler last year, and during the 100 miler last year, I split something in the 840 to 850 range for the 100K. So going in this year, I knew I could run it faster, and I was really aiming for like 830 or faster. The course record is 814 on the women's side. Long story short, I ran slower than I ran in the 100 mile last year. Like 8:52. I think it was slower, right around the same time, but like 8:52. I did get second place, which was awesome. To the one and only Katie Asmuth, pro runner for Hoka, and she's finished top 10 at Western States, actually top 5 or 6 at Western States. She got fourth there 3 years ago. Went through some serious injury in the last couple of years, is coming back, but got second to her. She ran an amazing race, and I got another cool trophy. They have the best trophies. Oh, there it is. You can see it back there. It's the skeleton, the
Directly
paper mache
under the
skeleton.
cheetah.
Yeah, next to the giraffe. Oh, under the cheetah. There's lots of animals back there. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So it was really good, and honestly, like we don't need to go into too much on the running side because this is the Too Talented podcast, but there is a lot that translates over from a mental standpoint of like, I was in a hard place starting at lap 2, mentally, and just, it was very challenging to work through a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of self kind of, I don't know, I was like, not self implosion, but like, just I, my mind was not being super kind to me throughout the race, and I'm glad I battled through it and was there to finish with my friend Jess. She ran the last lap with me, and I probably couldn't have done it without her. My family came out to crew and all of that, and then after the race, I got to also hang out and support you in your 100-mile journey. So something else that kept me going while I was out there is I knew you were running, and we were both working hard and both kind of experiencing all of this together. So Graham, how did it go? You lined up for the 100 miler at Javelina.
Yeah, so this is my fourth 100 miler attempt. I have not yet finished one, and still sadly have not yet finished one. Yeah, I mean, I had a good day overall until the very end. But yeah, I moved pretty well and, was running quickly and hydration was going well and everything. I think the challenges started to kind of come in at around mile 60 where I started to cramp real bad and tried to kind of hydrate around it and take some salt. And I just could not quite get it to come around. And then I started to get sick. Sat in an aid station med tent for an hour trying to get myself back together. Felt like I could get back out. So I ran another 4 miles to the headquarters aid station, the main aid station, but I just started kind of getting sick again and was not able to kind of one mentally stay in it for another 20 miles, and then two, I think physically I was done. I had hurt my ankle pretty bad; it was really swollen, and it just felt like there was just 20 more miles was going to be really tough for me to kind of make it into. So I ran the Javelina 81. Proud of it. It's good stuff.
Distance PR for you.
Distance PR, longest I've ever gone. So that's good. And I was real patient with it, so I was really happy kind of with how I did it. There's some things that if I'm going to do any other long races that I'll need to really continue to dial in because I still haven't figured it out. But, it's a journey, and I'm glad to kind of keep doing it. So, yeah. But I think to you, kind of from there were some thoughts like going in like, hey, I'm building a business. I think my mental toughness is really, really strong. And I think that's true. But I think you get to a point where it's not enough to kind of battle through, especially when you've got some stuff seriously wrong, and thinking about kind of long-term like body damage. There are definitely times where you need to say, okay, I need to stop. And I need to, if I'm going to do this again ever, I need to prepare a little different way. So, but it was good. There's some lessons that I learned out there. And overall, I mean, it's such a fun party atmosphere and the race is so cool. And there's so many people that we know out there. It was a great experience.
Yeah. There's also a lot of stress, right? Building a business. It's good. It's good stress in a lot of ways, but that also contributes to, your, I guess, the amount of reserve you have from I'm going to, really push through this pain. And I've been in that exact position myself where it's like, you just maybe don't have the emotional and mental wherewithal to want to and be able to invest what you need to just finish something. And is that really worth it or necessary or what you should do?
Right. Totally. I mean, I thought about it like afterwards, like, if this had been work and, business related, I would have found a way to kind of make it happen. But, this is a leisure activity that, is designed to have a fun factor to it. So, the consequences certainly aren't as high as they could be.
Yeah, leisure activity with a lot of pain in it.
That's exactly right.
Voluntary suffering.
Yep, that's right.
Well,
that's
congratulations on your 80 miles. It's still huge, and I'm really proud of you for. I think your journey is more important than the destination kind of mindset is really evident, and I know how much you train and how consistent and dedicated you are to putting in the work, and that is no different when you're in a professional setting. So
absolutely,
work ethic is work ethic is worth it. Work ethic is work ethic regardless of the outcome.
That's right. Well, we can kind of jump into the main topic of, as a new grad, some of the things that you can do to really help your chances at landing a job. And as we said, especially new grads right now, there's a lot of talk about AI and how AI has replaced kind of new grads. And frankly, I haven't seen that to be true. I've heard people say it. I've even heard, CEOs kind of say AI is impacting kind of our ability to hire people who are fresh out of school. The AI that I've seen in person that I've seen companies using simply isn't doing that. So what I really think is happening is companies are doing an allocation of money trying to figure out what their AI strategy is going to be, what, investing in AI tools and that type of thing, and that's impacting in the amount of money that they have available for hiring people. And new hire, I think, is one of the kind of verticals that is being directly impacted by this, and it will change. But I think right now there's some challenges to it. But I don't think every company is doing it that way, and I think there are still plenty of opportunities out there. So you just need to be diligent in applying to the right roles to do the networking, etc. So we have 5 different things that we suggest for any new grad do to kind of help your chances at landing into the new role. So we'll jump into it now. So for the first part is to just simply stand out. How do you stand out amongst the others who are applying for the same jobs? And I think it's all about showcasing your potential. There's no way a company can look at a resume that a new grad has and say, oh, they've done this, this, and this, so of course they're going to be successful here. But you can showcase a variety of different things on your resume that will help people understand kind of your commitment to excellence or your work ethic, going back to that, or different things that can help them understand kind of the skill set that you bring. So if you participated in a sport and you had like a really good year or had some stats that would be important to see, I think that would be great. Any awards, either academic awards or service awards, any award that you got in high school or college is definitely fair game, and it's a good showing. If you took a leadership role in either a club or some type of activity in school and college or high school, captain of the football team, if you were captain of the ski team, any of those types of things can help show leadership. And I think showcasing leadership early in your career is an important thing. If you did volunteer work, if you had a class project that stood out, I think I would put that on there. Funny enough, that was one of the things that actually helped me land my first job. Is I had a strategy class, a business strategy class, which was like our capstone class at NC State. And the major project that was worth half the grade was a business simulation where you were selling bicycles to different verticals within the bicycle industry, so to speak. So they broke it up into different teams, and my team just absolutely crushed it. And there was a couple decisions that I made because we really spent the time to read the instructions on how to play the game, and the instructions were long. It was like 10 pages worth of instructions. But we had an accountant on the team who really pushed us into making sure that we looked through those carefully.
Like
so we were able.
Actual accountant or an accounting student?
Actually, he was a later career student. He was probably 40.
Oh my
He
gosh.
was
Wow.
going back to school, but he was an accountant. And so, it was nice. It was cool to have someone on the team with different levels of experience than us, because he really pushed us to read these instructions. And we found something that no one else noticed, which was the game, actually, the parameters would kind of change throughout the game. So you had to continually modify the bicycles you were making to keep them relevant. And no one else was doing it because they just didn't see it. So we made some really big moves in the game because of that, and ended up winning by a landslide. So I was able to tell that story to the first hiring manager I ever got a job with, and he loved that. And it really was able, and I had some hard facts and like how we won and some stuff that I don't remember now, but I was able to describe it in such a way that it really made for a meaningful story about how I could think about business and how I would be in business for that company. So things like that stick out. Don't be shy about putting stuff like that on your resume, and have the story ready to tell in the interview.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, a couple other things that came to mind as you're going through that, if you were in student council or student government type roles, that's another one to add in there for sure. Just basically thinking about, you probably were involved in a lot more than you realized that would be applicable. So what was I involved in, that shows that I have a well-rounded skill set, that I've been in different types of environments and communities and groups and things like that. Like sorority fraternity, right? That's a big teamwork kind of scenario. And so if you're involved in one of those, I would add that into if you had internships, obviously.
Yes, absolutely.
That is the most direct kind of work, quote unquote, work experience. But whether they were free or paid, or you did something for your best friend's dad's company, like put it on there.
Well, and even like summer jobs, like I was a
Yes.
lifeguard or
Yes,
I waited
exactly.
tables. All
Yeah.
those things help you build skills that you can then bring to a workplace. So making sure you're ready to talk through all those things, they're on the resume. Those are really, really important. Even though you may say, oh, this isn't at all applicable to this, computer science job that I'm taking. But you never know. And I think it gives you a talking point for you to describe how you were at work,
Hmm.
what your boss would say about you, those types of things, which I think are really important. One of the last things that I would say, and I've actually had to really craft this for my business because it's a very common question about, for Stride staffing, what do you guys do?
Hmm.
And I needed to kind of get a 30-second pitch or 1-minute pitch of exactly what we do, who we service, and how we do it, and what makes us different. And being able to do that and on the fly, really have kind of figured it out over time and crafted something that I think is really good. I've had to use it probably 50 times now. I think you as a candidate need to be ready with a 30-second elevator pitch of who you are, what type of role that you're looking for, and really kind of what you've done to kind of get you to where you are today. And it can be short and sweet, but it's something that maybe you write down, practice, and have ready because I think you'll be surprised at how often you use that.
Yeah, in business, that one might call that a value proposition. What is your value prop as
Absolutely.
a individual? So think of yourself as a company, and I am an entity. I am selling myself to these employers. What is the value proposition that I bring to them, right? And they will be looking for certain things. I 100% would recommend source and um, promote individuals. When I was actually part of creating a sales academy when I worked at a big telecom company, where we were interviewing hundreds and hundreds of recent grads to bring into our entry level sales roles, and then we were going to train them up and help them figure out which career path they would want to go on, from inside sales to outside sales to sales engineering to sales operations to sales leadership. But I helped create that program, and we were when we were interviewing candidates, right? I always was a big fan of the athletes, because athletics in general shows that you are dedicated to something. You know what it takes to work it on it day in and day out. You know what it takes to be in stressful, intense environments, and what it takes to perform when you are under stress. Teamwork aspect, just overall dedication and commitment to sticking with something. Goal setting. There are so many things that translate from athletics that it automatically can give you a leg up, and so definitely highlight that if that's part of your background.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a great point.
Okay, so
So getting,
number one was stand out, showcase your potential, and basically like figure out how you're going to sell the potential you can bring.
you got it for sure. Do you want to take number two?
Okay, so number two is make sure that you have something, you know, kind of solidified into a one page, get it down on paper and make it digital. So create your LinkedIn profile. A lot of times now individuals have this, I mean, in high school even, but definitely like in college throughout, like start to build that profile online. So some resume tips. We kind of talked a little bit about these, but we'll go through resume tips, LinkedIn tips. Again, relevant coursework and projects, right? Things. This should be a short synopsis of your skill set. Again, a one pager for sure, only one page for recent college grads. But just like you would do a resume, build a timeline of jobs, build a resume and a timeline and chronological timeline of, okay, high school, I was top 10% of my class. I did XYZ athletics, and I was in student council. Then I'm going to college. I worked these jobs over the summer. I maintained this workload during college of coursework. I was participated in these extracurriculars or these other activities. Highlight again a couple projects or courses that are specific to that. Like obviously, if you got a degree in something that's applicable, but even if you didn't, I minored in psychology. Psychology translates to everything. It is your ability to understand and work with people, and um, you know so I have been, I've gone through formal education around psychology. Like, make sure you include that on there. So again, do it like chronological, and then you can definitely have a summary at the top. This is like about you. Who are you? What do you bring? What makes you unique? What are some of the biggest things that you think you're going to bring to the job? And that can kind of serve at the top as like a summary or about me section. This is who I am. I don't know what yours was when you were going into or right out of college, but create that, put that on LinkedIn, and make it in resume format and paper format. Do you want to go into a little bit more on any specific LinkedIn tips?
Yeah, I mean, I think with LinkedIn, making sure that your resume and LinkedIn profile mirror each other. They don't need to be exact the same, but I think making sure that the dates are the same, that's really important. A lot of people want to, we'll look at both, and if there's a discrepancy there, they're going to ask you a question about it. You can add more personality to LinkedIn. Obviously, you're going to add a picture, which I think is great. You can put a headline on there about what you're looking for, and maybe a little bit about where you've come from. Make sure you fill out the About Me section, and fill it out. Like, don't just one-liner it. Write about kind of what you're looking for, the types of roles that you've been in the past, or types of college courses that you've taken, or anything that kind of rounds you out so people can understand who you are. I think on your LinkedIn profile, it's easy to put things a little bit about your interests. If you have an interest in, I don't know what it would be, chess, putting things like that on there. Sometimes when a manager is looking at your LinkedIn profile, and they also like chess, it can be an easy place for you and that person to connect. So if you put things on there that are important to you, it's an easy place for people to say, oh, I do that too. And then they're going to want to talk about it. So I think things like that are really important, but making sure it mirrors your resume, I think, is the most important thing.
Yep. Agreed. All right.
So next topic is apply. Apply. So I think the first thing that I'd say to anyone is don't overthink it. If you're 70% of a skill set match to a job, apply for it. There's so many times people go back and forth. Well, should I apply? Just apply. It really, there's no downside to it. I think one thing to be careful of is if there's multiple jobs at one company, pick the one that's most applicable and apply to that one. If you apply to 5 jobs at the same company and they're all kind of different, people are going to look.
It looks like you don't know what you want to do. That's
exactly.
that's so accurate. Yes, and I would see that. Why is this person applied to every single job we have?
Yep, exactly. And I do the same thing. And I'll look and be like, this person just keeps showing up in totally rando jobs. It's great that they really want to work for this company, but do they really understand the skill set that they have? So definitely pick one and only apply to that one. So that's one. And then use job boards, use Indeed.com, use LinkedIn to apply. I would be pretty hesitant about using an AI tool to apply for you unless it's embedded in the actual application for the company. I've heard of a number of other recruiters talking about how they'll just get blasted with 500 applications of just absolutely random people, and they got an AI tool to just spray their resume all over the place. And hey, maybe it works for some people, but it's going to turn off a whole lot of people. So I would be very, very cautious on that, unless you find something that's very specific. I think doing an online application each time, even though it's a bit time consuming, is your best bet. I would stay away from the AI tools.
And a lot of them are going to use the same applicant tracking system, ATS, for applying. So once you start applying to some, you might create a profile in that system whether it's a greenhouse, a Taleo, Oracle, whatever the system is, once you create it in there, it might allow you to apply to other jobs more quickly as well because they use the
Yes,
same one. So it's like, do you want to apply through Greenhouse? Yes. And then all your information will already be saved in there. So it should get easier as you build kind of those profiles.
most definitely. Um, and then once you apply to a particular job, especially ones that you're really well qualified for, send a LinkedIn invite to, the recruiter. A lot of times the recruiter's on that job posting, so you can stand out a bit. If you can find the hiring manager on LinkedIn, send them a LinkedIn invite, and you can just have a short one-liner. I just applied for this job, and I'm very interested in talking to you. It's just one extra step to kind of stand out in the crowd. Not everybody is doing it, so it'll kind of whittle it down, especially if you go on there and you see 500 applications for this job. There's no way they're going through 500 applications. So you got to find another way to stand out, and sending that LinkedIn invite can be that. And then, you're going to get rejected. You're going to get the automated note saying that we've reviewed your resume and you're unfortunately not a fit for this role. Or you won't hear anything at all, which is the most common thing that I hear from people. Yeah, it can be frustrating. And yeah, you're waiting around to kind of hear from them. My advice is don't wait. Just keep going. Go apply and apply and apply. You will get some feedback. You will start to land interviews. You will apply something that's a very active job. So just because the first 5, 10, you don't hear anything back, keep going. Persistence pays off, certainly in the job search.
Yeah, I think the big thing is just be proactive. Like really try to take it into your own hands of doing everything you can to move things forward for you. And it's just like, so when you think about it, more all of these people whose jobs you're applying for, they're busy professionals. Like do whatever you can to make it easy for them to find you, to see you, to contact you back. And so, you do have to really take it into your own hands of like staying ahead of the game. And if you get a response from somebody, continue following up with them, make it your job to stay in touch with them because they have a ton of things going on and it is your role to stay top of mind, in any way you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a limit to how persistent you should be.
Yes.
If you send someone 5 emails, you still haven't heard anything back. I would send what I call the breakup email, where it says, hey, this is the 5th email that I've sent you. I haven't heard back. It seems as though that you may have moved on with another candidate, which is totally fine. I was just kind of following up. This will be my last follow-up unless you have something where you'd like to have me move forward or something to that effect.
Yeah. But the ones where you're getting a response, those are the ones where it's really like, okay, let's make sure that I stay in touch and
Yep.
know what's going on in the process. And that in and of itself is going to show them that you're that way when you work as well, which is probably
Yeah.
an important factor for the job.
Absolutely. Yep. So next topic is get away from your computer. So many people use their whole job search sitting in front of a screen. And I think there are so many other ways to do it. So they say 70% of people who get jobs do it through their own network, and not necessarily by applying for a job online. And to get in front of your network, you have to actually get in front of your network and be there kind of personally. So there's a few different ways to do it. Asking people to coffee is great. I ask, salespeople, or I ask hiring managers, candidates, all kinds of different people to coffee. I think that face-to-face interaction is great. You can spend 20 minutes with someone and have a much deeper conversation than you can even get on the phone. So, ask people that are in your network. So, friends of your parents, parents of your friends, professors, coaches, colleagues, anybody who you've seen has had some success career-wise, grab them for coffee. Ask them who they might know, who might be in a type of job that you're looking for, whether it's marketing or sales or computer science or any of those types of things. There's a lot of people who know somebody in that space that they can make an introduction. And if you sit with them for coffee, talk to them about what you're doing in your job search, they're very likely to make that introduction. So I think that's a really powerful thing. Another thing is attending local networking groups. So attending a group specifically for the skill set that you're most interested in. So if you're a project manager, you can go to a project manager group. Or if you are just in general tech, you can go to a tech group. Or, I mean, there's just, I mean, so many. Meetup.com is a great place to kind of find some of them. I think on any given night here in Denver, you could go to a networking event if were really looking hard. So I would definitely suggest that. One of the things, especially if you're more of an introvert and you don't naturally like going up to random strangers and asking about what they do, is, and actually, I had a recruiter who was kind of like this. He would set a goal. I am going to talk to 6 different people at this event. I don't care which 6. I don't care how long the interaction is. I'm going to talk to 6. So he gave himself a goal, and then when he hit 6, he would leave, and he would go sit in his car and cry probably. But it worked for him. He would set a goal, he would do it, he would be very, very into it, and then he would be boom, gone.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
an interesting way to do it for if you're a little more introverted, but kind of be a butterfly at these events. Don't get stuck talking to one person for an hour unless they're a hiring manager and they're really, it sounds like they have a job that you might be interested in. Okay, drop everything and just spend time with that person, because that deep connection is really, really positive and can be very important. However, if it's someone who is a entry-level person like yourself and you guys are complaining about the job market, great. Do it for 5 minutes, then say, hey, got some more people to meet. Great to meet you, and move on to the next person. But making sure you meet with plenty of people is really important at these events.
Yeah, and they don't have to be, I mean, getting out in front of people also doesn't have to be, it's great to be in person if you can, but you can also set up virtual meetings with people,
Yeah.
but, set up a Google Meet. Everybody can do that for free. You don't have to have a special Zoom account or anything. Meeting virtually is equally great, or can be, especially obviously a lot of these people are not going to live near you if you're talking to people on LinkedIn and stuff like that. But I'll just give one story that last summer, I had a individual reach out to me who was a recent college grad. Actually, I think he was going into his senior year. So he was still in college, but reached out to me. He just found me on LinkedIn, but he was looking at an internship with the pro triathlon group or a pro triathlon organization in Colorado Springs. And he reached out to me, and somehow, maybe because I was working with ATRA that has some tie to it, just asked me if I would meet with him and give him some career advice and give him some advice about how to maybe get this internship and stuff like that. It was awesome. He did exactly what we're saying. And I met with him. He was super nice. I gave him some tips. I introduced him to Nancy Hobbs, who's the head of ATRA, who certainly has a connection to who he was probably talking to. And I think he ended up getting that internship, and he asked me some great questions. So he came prepared, but I had never met this person in my life, no idea who he was. But he found me, he reached out, and he got a lot of great information from me. And I think he ended up getting the internship, which then, very well can turn into a job. So, it was a good example of seeing, that proactivity, and I was happy to meet with him and do what I could to help him. And a lot of people, once we are now 15 years into our career, we want to help. We do. And you've found that too in your setting up your new business, Graham, that you got to just go ask people, and you got to ask a lot of them, and a few of them are going to definitely help you out.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a number of new grads ask me if I would spend 20 minutes with them, mostly virtual calls, and I'm happy to. I've done it for years. I do have a lot of advice to give. I can walk them through the resume. I can talk about different strategies they've got going. This one person in particular had pretty much a job opportunity come his way for when he was graduating in May of this year, or of 26. But it wasn't exactly the way he envisioned his career to start. So it was a lot of really thinking through what if I get on this track and it takes me away from where I really want to go, and that type of thing. So we had this long conversation about it, and what it turned out was hey, just because you have this vision of exactly where you're going to go doesn't mean it's going to go in a straight line to get to that point. Sometimes it twists and turns. Sometimes you realize over time that what you wanted to do isn't exactly kind of where you're headed, and that's okay. Or you can find your first job out of school, like kind of mine, where I took a job, I liked it okay, did it for 2.5 years, and then you had jumped into recruiting that looked way down my alley, and I made a pivot 2.5 years into something that was pretty different than my first job out of school. So, it's really, what you take your first job out of school does not necessarily define where your career is going to be. So many people I found take a job doing one thing and their career goes a totally different direction within 5 years. So I think that's a totally, totally normal thing.
Yeah, it's not the end all be all. The first job you get is not the last job you're going to have. And on average, I think people change entire career functions like on average 4 or 5 times throughout their life. So it's a constant learning process, and you really just have to kind of get out there and start doing it to sometimes figure out what you like and what you don't like in the actual job setting. So, yeah, exactly.
Definitely. The last one, you want to take a crack at that one?
Okay, so focus on experience over money. I think, yeah, one thing that you have on your side when you're really early in your career is if you're going to get into a corporate function and work for a company, which most people probably are, at least for some period of time, working for an organization, is like you can start to build your 401k very early. Highly recommend you do that at any job you get. So that's a little aside from the point of this. So what we're talking about, focusing on the experience over the money, is the money will come in time. You might want to set, this is what I need to make, and this is probably market value or market appropriate for coming into a role. But if one job pays 30,000, I don't know. I think I made 29,000 base for my first job out of school. Yeah, it was a long time ago, but it wasn't a lot. So let's say in today's world, let's say a job pays 40 or 45,000. And the $45,000 job, has these components and it's kind of what you want to do. And the $40,000 job, has the huge growth potential, and it has a lot of opportunities to learn a wide variety of things that are interesting to you. Take the $40,000 job. Don't make that decision of $5,000 from the get-go thinking you got to think about it holistically of what you're going to get from the opportunity, and not just the dollar figure. Because, if you do really well in your first job out of school, 6 months to a year in, you can renegotiate your salary. And if you are showing that you are doing a good job, that is definitely going to be considered by that company to be able to keep you. They're training you, they're building you up. They don't want to lose you after 6 months or a year. So you have some of that flexibility from a financial standpoint in your own hands. I think internships, if you are in a financial position of privilege that you could take one that didn't pay, if it was very, very aligned to what you're looking to do, that would be okay, because that experience is worth something. It's not, it's yeah, just because you're not paid for it does not mean that it is not worth something to what you will be able to make in the future. If you have the ability to do that, whether you've saved or you have support from your parents or something like that, or whatever it is. So I think there's a couple other points on here, but the thing I wanted to get back to with once you get into that job is really utilize the benefits that they have. And one of the biggest things that we both did that allowed us to be in a better position now in our careers is we started contributing to 401ks right away. So we put money from our paychecks aside every single month, and you got to do that, because the way that a 401k works is that it's going to build on itself, and the more time it is sitting in a investment account, the more you will earn. So you really want to start that first thing out of school, is contributing the highest percentage that you possibly can out of your paycheck into a 401k.
Yeah, I mean, I think the years that you're saving on your 401k in your 20s are going to be the most high potential that 401k could possibly be, because time compounds, money compounds. It is going to build significantly on itself. When you're 50, your time is much shorter, and even though you're able to put a lot more dollars in, those dollars don't have the time to compound. So starting that 401k right off the bat was something that we both did, and it made a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about the not chasing kind of inflated salaries and thinking long term a little bit?
No, I think, at this point we've kind of covered most of what we needed to cover. I don't want to go too
Okay.
long here. I thought you did great with that. So, and I think we really covered the topic well. So, I mean, the key main takeaways from this is you're selling your potential, not kind of like the perfection of what you're trying to do. Talk about what you could do. You need to build your digital presence, make sure your resume looks good, it's professional, is one page. I think those are important things. Apply fearlessly and connect with lots of people. Be a butterfly in your job search. I think it's the most helpful thing. And then focus on experience and growth, and the money will follow it. I would take experience over money any day, because that money will come over time with the success that you have in that role. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
I'll just
mean,
I'll
yeah,
just add in there real quick, because I think you made this point, but we didn't mention it on the pod. Is that if you have like 70% of the skills needed for a job, apply for it. You
yeah,
don't have that. What you just said, like, you don't have to be a perfect fit. And I'm saying this also largely to females that are coming out of college, is that women in general have a tendency to not apply for a job unless they're 100% qualified for it. And so I highly encourage like all of the women and young women out there to just go for these jobs and have confidence that you could do them, because there's a good chance that you probably can. And it takes a little bit of, I'm going to maybe fake it till I make it on some things, but you're smart. You can figure it out. If you're interested in it and you have a passion for it, put yourself out there and apply and interview with confidence. I mean, whether you're a man or a woman, if you're early in your career, you do bring a lot, a lot, and so have confidence in that interview process.
absolutely. And do us a favor right now, if you're listening to this and you know of a new grad who's looking for a new job, who you think this podcast could help, send it to them. Give them some tips. This is an easy way to help a new grad in their job search, and something, if you don't feel like you have anything else that you could do for them, send them this. See if this helps them in their job search. And follow
And
us
they're
along at
welcome to connect with us too on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Yep, for sure. So follow us on Too Talented Podcast, like and subscribe. If you've got a comment, feel free to put it in the section. We'd love to respond to it. And if you have questions for future episodes, please send us our way. Thanks for joining us on Too Talented, and we'll see you next time.